Hi Beats, it's EKG. Welcome back to my channel. First, I want to start off by saying Happy New Year! I'm happy 2020 is over and I can only look forward to the possibilities of 2021. I hope that this video finds you well, and let's talk about the books that I read in 2020. I read a grand total of 15 books this year, and I'm embarrassed, okay? I'm supposed to be a writer. I'm supposed to have this thirst for knowledge and literature, and I didn't in 2020, and that's fine. I actually read the same amount of books in 2020 that I did in 2019. We'll talk about my reading stats, but we'll review everything that I read in 2020. I have a Goodreads account. You could follow me on there. I use my phone to record YouTube videos, so I will not be able to tell you on the video now what I rated the book. We'll just get right into it. I have a lot of poetry. I think I've read mostly poetry this year, which is slightly even more embarrassing because poetry books for me literally take like a day or two to read. I go through them super quick. Novels tend to take me longer. I will just start off in no particular order. So the first book that I have on my list is Homebody, which is Ruby Kaur's third poetry collection. I just wanted to pick this up because I do admire Ruby Kaur. Like, she's intriguing to me. Just her popularity is intriguing. I picked up Homebody. Honestly, I think I might have rated it like a 2 out of 5 on Goodreads. And that's just because I didn't really get anything new. I didn't get anything new from this. And I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to see Ruby Kaur grow in her work. And I just wasn't getting that. And this sounds very harsh to start off with the first book. No shade to her. I think poetry is subjective. It's a form of art. Honestly, this one just wasn't my favorite out of hers. I did really like Milk and Honey, and that was the first book that kind of re-sparked my love for poetry, coincidentally. So I guess that's also why I will have a secret admiration for Ruby. But this one just wasn't my favorite that I read this year. This book I have, if you saw my most recent video, you would know it made it to my top 5 favorite books of 2020, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I won't go into too much detail with this book, but I believe that I rated this the highest on Goodreads at 5 stars. I really loved it, but I absolutely love this story. It was really engrossing. Kaya Clark as a protagonist, and just going through her life as a swamp girl and living in a rural area where she was considered an outsider, as well as there being a murder mystery involved in the plot. So if you love nature, you love science, you love mysteries, this is the book for you. Up next, I have another poetry collection, and this one is Felicity by Mary Oliver. I came across Mary Oliver's poem Oxygen, which is probably one of my favorite poems I've ever read. And I came across that. It was published in the New Yorker, I believe. And I read that and I was just like, I need to read more of Mary Oliver. So I picked up this poetry collection. Mary Oliver is a Pulitzer Prize winning poet, as you can see here. She was amazing, is amazing, will always be amazing in my eyes. She talks a lot about nature, which I love, and how our human experience relates to our environment. So definitely pick this up by Mary Oliver. And if I find the poem Oxygen, I'll link it down below so you can check that out. Next, we have Homegoing by Ya Gyasi. This book, I believe I rated it, or wanted to rate it, 2.5 stars, which is kind of annoying. Goodreads only gives you definitive rankings and not anywhere in between. It follows 2 half-sisters from their journey in Africa. Through one stays in Africa through colonization, and the other gets traded into slavery and goes to America. So it's interesting to follow their lineage throughout the decades to see how each half of the family navigates the world that they're in, which was really cool. I really enjoyed that. My one main critique for this collection was that it's all basically short stories, so you never really sit with a character too long. And I found that it got a little confusing just trying to remember like what lineage I was reading without having like a map of some sorts, which I became aware is also available. So you should read this if you like historical novels, Diaspora and the Black Experience. Definitely check this one out. Next, I have Intimations by Zadie Smith, which I spoke about as well in my best books of 2020 video, but you should definitely read it. It's a pandemic read, which could be very annoying to some people, but this wasn't as annoying or like, I don't want to say traumatic because that sounds intense, but it just wasn't as abrasive, I guess you could say, because we are still going through the pandemic. And I really appreciated this because she spoke with a very metaphorical insight that just, it caters to my existentialism tendencies. Like, I love thinking deeply about what's going on. And in Zadie Smith's essay, she takes very mundane moments and further fleshes them out and analyzes what is going on in these moments. So she speaks a lot about hearing, you know, like the first early stages of lockdown in New York City, to her returning home to England, I believe, where she's from. And it was just really cool. Next up, I have When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Calinthi. And this book was amazing. It was one of the first books I read in 2020. I was bawling my eyes out. Great story. It's an autobiography written by Paul as he is navigating his way through medical school. And then he receives a diagnosis. And then you see how his life unfolds following the diagnosis. And it was just a beautiful, heart-wrenching story. This is also a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize. So if you're like a little snobby like me and you like seeing crap like that, then check this book out. Up next, I have Luster. And this is by Raven Leilani. And this book is getting so much buzz and it deserves it. I believe this is Raven Leilani's debut novel. And hello, I'm here for it. It's about a 20-something Black woman who is navigating the uncertainties of 2020 while getting involved in an entanglement, shall we say, with an older white man who's in an open marriage. So it's very juicy if you're into that stuff. This was good. I will say I saw a lot of people on Goodreads. Oh my God, I didn't rate it. I think on Goodreads I rated it, I want to say like a 3.5 out of 5. Like, I really liked it, but I'll talk about my critique in a minute. So I really enjoyed this novel. My one main thing was that there wasn't much dialogue, which I spoke about this in a vlog. And it just, like, sometimes I get a little lost if there's a lot of prose going on. Like, it's nice. Maybe I just have like the reader's mind of a millennial in the age of social media and content where things are constantly being shown in my face. Like, visually, if things aren't changing, I get a little lost in them, if that makes sense. But otherwise, this was amazing. Definitely pick it up. Raven Leilani is going to be a star, so get it. It was really fun and interesting read, especially centering on a Black woman's experience in the 20-somethings, which we rarely see. Up next, I have Thick, and this is by Tracy McMillan Cotton. And Thick is a collection of essays that explores womanhood, Black womanhood. It explores the Black experience in the age of contemporary like media. This collection of essays was really interesting. One of my favorite collections was the one where she talks about Black women's experience in healthcare. She also talks about knowing your rights, which is another essay topic that I found really intriguing. And what was the first essay was amazing too, just Thick. It's the first essay is Thick, which is what the book is named after. Definitely pick this up. I think I might have rated it 3 stars or so, just because, I mean, this is the point of a persuasive essay, is to get the reader to believe something. But when I'm reading, I just want to go in with an open mind and not have someone's ideas forced onto me. So maybe I just don't like essays, but you know, I liked it for what it was. I appreciate it. She is another Black woman who is doing the work, so I stand, but we got to be honest. And that's the thing, you know, you can critique something and be honest and state your honest opinion, but still like it and appreciate it for what it is. Just want to put that out there. I'm not spreading any hate, nothing like that. These are just my opinions. I still really like the novels from everyone, not just Black women, from all across the board. Just a little disclaimer. So the first book that I read in 2020 was The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And this book was so good. It's super short. It's like a pamphlet written in lyrical prose. And it just has so much wisdom, life wisdom. All of the chapters are literally called on love, on marriage, on children, etc., etc., etc. My favorite ones were the ones about love and marriage and connecting to your environment and about honing in on your gifts. So this is a very light, insightful read. If you like things like The Four Agreements or The Alchemist, you would definitely love The Prophet. So check this one out if you haven't read it yet. I believe I rated it 5 stars because I just loved it so much. So now we're getting into the poetry, the heavy poetry section. So first up, I have Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong, and this poetry collection blew me away. I also raved about it in my Best Books of 2020 video. You can check that video out, but I won't gush any further. Ocean Vuong is an amazing poet. He is a master of language, in my opinion. He just creates metaphors and constructs his sentences in such a way that is beautiful and insightful and thought-provoking and chilling and raw. So definitely check him out. Next, Post-Colonial Love Poems. I believe I rated this on Goodreads. I don't even know if I rated it, honestly. I try not to rate poetry collections unless I really feel strongly about them. But Post-Colonial Love Poem was amazing, by Natalie Diaz. She is a Native American, or indigenous, I should say. She's an indigenous Latinx poet, and she speaks a lot about her experience growing up on a preservation and the violence of the state against indigenous folks. So definitely check this out. And she speaks a lot about nature as well. So if you love nature, themes like the river, the moon, the stars, you would love this as well. So check out Natalie Diaz. Honestly, I'm gonna group these 2 books together because it's the same author, and it is Flux. And then we also have Film for Her by Orion Carlotto. She is a YouTuber who I've been following for a minute now. I want to say since she came out with this book, this poetry collection. See, here's the thing. I appreciate modern poetry. I know some people literally hate it and despise it, but I like it. I mean, I can't really knock an artist for expressing themselves in the way that they want to, you know? Take your pretentiousness and shove it, seriously. But I think modern poetry is a great way to just reach new audiences, reach people who don't want to sit and think about language all day the way that, you know, others do. And modern poetry could be fun, you know, and it could be really impactful and short and sweet and thought-provoking. So yeah, I just had to go on a tangent. If you want to see a video about modern poetry and my thoughts on that, comment down below. Like I could go on forever about modern poetry. So like a complete polar opposite of modern poetry, I have this poetry collection, No Matter, by Jana Prekill. And this poetry collection, I liked, I don't know what to say, but this is one of the collections that you really have to like sit and think about and analyze, which could put some people off, especially if you like more like Rupi Kaur's work and like more modern poets like, who else can I name? Like, oh, like Amanda Lovelace, like Lang Leave, like all of those poets. If you like that type of poetry, you're probably not gonna like this. I feel like my mind could not process like the type of level she was on yet. Like, I'm not there yet. I really have to probably reread this a couple of times and sit there and analyze and see what is going on in the poem. But yeah, it was cool. I like it. Honestly, the cover and the title is what really intrigued me in. Like, what is this abstract? Like, this looks like a whole bunch of like shadows and molecules just floating around. So I was into it. And it's called No Matter. I'm like, ooh, is this like interstellar? You know, I don't know. All right, so I finished recording the video already, but I just realized that I forgot to mention the final book for real, which is Atomic Habits, and I don't have a copy of that because I borrowed it. So I read Atomic Habits by James Clear. Loved it. It did take me a while. It's very psychological, like self-help type of genre, but essentially he talks about the small habits that you can implement in your daily lives and routines to help you reach a goal or to help you live a better full life. Atomic Habits, definitely recommend it. I enjoyed the book and I would recommend it if you are looking, especially now for the start of the new year, looking for ways to build better habits and to be more intentional with your time. So definitely check out Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I'll just insert myself back into past Ebony, who is doing the outro of this video. I want to briefly talk about my goals, my reading goals for 2021. So like I said, in 2020, I had a goal to read 20 books, and I read 15. Which I fell a little short. It's okay. I got 75% of the way done. And especially with the year that we were having, it was a struggle. For 2021, I want to read 25 books. I'm going to up the ante a little. And I have already completed one book. Oh my God. And also, I have a poem coming out. So if I post this tomorrow, which would be Tuesday, January 5th, I will have my poem called Wet Bodies out in Mixed Mag, which is super excited. It's just an honor. Every time I get published, I'm like, yes, you know, because I got a lot of rejection letters for a minute and I was like slipping slowly into self-deprecating insecurity, you know. But it's always great to get acceptance letters for publication. So shout out to Mixed Mag. I have no idea if they would ever watch my video or even know I have a YouTube, but shout out to them. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at EKG Writing. Most of you are probably coming from Instagram at this point, but I post a lot more of my work on there and just my updates. Everything will be linked down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
I was like, yo.